So, yeah, man, it is 25 years. It will be March 9th, 2022, since Notorious B.I.G. Biggie passed away, was murdered, killed in Los Angeles at the Peterson Automotive Museum. You know, you guys all know the story. No one ever found who did this thing. There's lots of theories. There's lots of, and of course, One Nation Radio is the place for theories. But I don't really have one on this, which is kind of a shock. But yeah, he was taken from us at 24 years old, and at that time he was getting ready to release his second album, double disc, Life After Death. He would later drop a posthumous album in '99, Born Again, and then Biggie duets in 2005. We can get into that, I guess, too. But yeah, like Biggie was, I remember. Well, first, James, like, what are your thoughts on Biggie in general?
It's weird 25 years later, but at the time as a kid, I thought that he was one of the best rappers I ever heard, maybe even the best one. Um, and then as I went through his catalog, that when I was a teenager, I was even more convinced of the same, like the voice, the ability to rap elegantly while also like making it seem easy. I think that's one of the underrated things about like rap when you talk about like when people talk about like great rappers. Like it's not enough just to be a great rapper and that you sound that you're trying really really hard to be great, but like the ability to make it look easy. And the folk tales about people like him or Jay-Z or Wayne or whoever else that like write the stuff in there, they write their own verses in their head, like it just adds some mythology of what he was. I think that he's underrated as far as his versatility as a rapper. I think that he's somebody that I'm sure of, if he was able to have a longer career, would have been on top for a long, long time. As far as a top rapper and star and personality, there have been plenty of other rappers that I think that over time would have burned out or not have been able to hold up to the pedestal they were put on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as far as their music, and probably would have transitioned to other projects. Like I think quite frankly, Tupac would have done better as a actor in the later '90s and 2000s than he would have as a rapper. I don't think he's a great rapper, but like he's not somebody I think of him and I think like, yeah, like this was going to be something that he could do for a long time. And there's no so shame in that, but I just think like you talk about like I remember somebody, I can't remember who it was, but they were like the like Vince Carter was like built to like it was the built as a perfect dunker, right? 6'7", long wingspan, big hands, in gigantic vert, in all the creativity in the world. Like if you're going to build a rapper from scratch, Biggie is one of the best combinations of all that stuff, especially when you include like the time for the era. And I thought that he was super special. So yeah, like I think that like at that time where like a double disc album from a rapper, like I think he was the second person to do it, first person to do it was Tupac for All Eyes on Me. Like it's pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive to say like, yeah, I'm going to put like 100 and close to 160 minutes worth of music and like it's going to sound like that. So yeah, and like it's really weird that like he already had the album named Life After Death, and then you know weeks before he was gone.
Yeah. I grew up with Big kind of being, a East Coast kid, and he was like the one. Like he was the dude. He was Neo. He was the Matrix long before we knew what that was. Just the thing about Biggie I always remember is like I grew up raised by women that all loved Biggie. My older sister loved Biggie. My mom loved Biggie. And my grandma liked Biggie. Like like he was just smooth in a way where the like he had all the game in the world. It didn't matter what he looked like, so he could rap on whatever. I think he was one of the early people from the East Coast that was picking the any like that was picking superior production. That I feel like his, and I hate to always bring up Tupac in comparison to Biggie, but that's kind of what it was. But I enjoyed the beats that Biggie rapped over a lot more. I grew to appreciate the stuff Pac was rapping over as I got older. But I thought Biggie was sensational as a storyteller, as a lyricist, just like, grab a mic and say something hot. Sending shots at people, just metaphors like, wherever I go, my crew is true to swarm. Got stripes in New York like Yankee uniforms, like that type of stuff. Like the playing with the language. He was just like someone that I learned so much from. I would credit a great deal of my growth as a rapper of listening to Life After Death at my grandma's kitchen table in like 2002 or whatever. So I remember my older brother Taryn, I burned the CDs from him. And I remember going into ninth grade, I was just had Ready to Die and repeat, just like, and this is 2004, like, and I'm just like studying at the altar of Big, and it's like, obviously his death is like, was tragic. You never seen like he was an icon of like New York and the East Coast, and he's the king of New York on the front of the Source, lyricist of the year at Source Awards. And I, every so often I go back and watch his videos and I see all the love that he used to get from everybody. I watched a One More Chance video a couple years ago, and it was like just everyone in the game just bowed down for Big. Like it was like they knew, like it was while he was here that he was the man, like that. And I was really into Ready to Die just from the hits, as a kid, and then like, continually riding buses and going to basketball practice and walking there and having a Walkman and Discman. That's when you're listening to more the album, where I'm really like vibing with I believe it's Everyday Struggle, like number 11 on the Ready to Die album. I'm really getting into Machine Gun Funk. I'm getting into the original One More Chance, him and Method Man, like the only feature they put on the album. Like it was so ahead of its time as far as like I won't say that. It wasn't ahead of its time, right? Because it's at the end of the day, it was like traditional East Coast boom bap, and it was of that time. It was the peak of that shit. And looking at the landscape around then, like Nas was out, putting out Illmatic at the time. Wu-Tang was out, and then they was trying to take it back from the West Coast, and then Big came, and it was like, yo, but Life After Death, very influential, just like all the different styles, doing songs with Bone Thugs, getting in their style and out rapping them. Like doing that in 1997 is not no easy feat. Like literally maybe like a year or two later, Jay-Z struggled with like getting on the Ha instrumental, which I wasn't too well received in some circles. But I think Biggie, to your point, James, like he could do it all. Like you put him on Going Back to Cali, you put him on like I Got a Story to Tell, you put him on More Money More Problems. Like he was unafraid with his sample choices, where stuff could, and you got to credit a lot of this to Diddy at the time, because they were fighting against like I was saying, like the East Coast traditional boom bap. Like they weren't afraid to long form sample and replay the stuff just because they knew what it would make people feel like. And I think Big was one of those people that the shiny suit, flossy stuff, but at the same time, gutter. A real MC's MC, a absolute superstar. Like listen to Victory to this day. Like it's just like listen to this guy. Like I feel like if you're somebody that does music and you can't learn from Big, I don't know what you're doing. Like like you missed the message. You missed the greatness. You didn't. I don't know what you're doing. Let's just say that.
Right. And like I think the thing also that he doesn't get enough credit for, like he gets it when he, as far as his personality, but like you play player hater, like he's fucking goofy as hell too.
Yep,
Like he's
hilarious.
very, like he's also very lighthearted as well. It wasn't just the the allusions to mafioso movement as well, but like yeah, he was just great, man. He was just great. Like thinking about like right now, like 10 Crack Commandments, or thinking about um um mm, 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 mm,
Kicking the
what the fuck?
door.
Yeah, kicking the door, waving the 4-4. Yeah, I was like, what the fuck, can't you think of the hook? Yeah, like he's just an incredible rapper. Like there were times where just like like in context, he was a great rapper. As a ramble rapper, he might be the best ramble rapper I've ever heard. he like um like he was just amazing. And like the thing that made him so versatile, I think people aren't or people don't, I think, give him credit for, especially for that time, was just like in a way, he's kind of like the first luxury rapper.
Oh yeah.
Like, and obviously, you had Big Daddy Kane talking about like, really fly shit to stun on niggas in this hood. But I'm talking about like, as far as like to now marble floors and mansions.
Yeah, I
I
seen the
mean, it's really
hypnotized video.
juicy. Like juicy, like you can go back to
That
Juicy
too.
and point that out. But
Yeah.
like, but then once you go to like, once he's in the fucking hypnotized video, and he's on the, and he's like, he's yes, right, and he's on the boat, and him and Diddy are going fucking backward or going in reverse while motherfuckers are chasing them in the bins. Like what?
Yeah,
Like
you brought up Juicy. Like some people would say, an argument for the greatest rap song of all time, that would be like
yeah,
Nothing But a G Thing, right? But like
that'd be
Juicy,
me. That's my pick.
like Juicy is like the East
Way up there
Coast
too.
answer to that, I feel like. And I remember knowing the words to Juicy. I remember when I was watching Making the Band, and Diddy had to was making them memorize the words to Juicy and all that. I wouldn't have had to be made. It would be like, oh, where are we rapping Juicy today? Okay. But yeah, man, he from his songs about women, as far as like the One More Chance remix stuff was great. Just spitting the game. You look at Lil Kim, and like him basically using her as a avatar, essentially. For if Big was a woman, this is what it would sound like, and nudge nudge, wink wink. So that stuff was, for him, like he was making executive producer moves. Like he was running in circles with Jay-Z, essentially, like propping him up, saying, yo, standing next to him, like, hey, and there's always kind of like this silent competition between them. There was smoke with him and Nas a little bit, and they sent subs at each other back and forth. That's kicking the door. A lot of that's about Nas. Yeah, there's stuff where the Wu-Tang and wasn't necessarily rocking with Big, and they were sending shots on Only Built for Cuban Links at him. The entire mid 90s rap was just people throwing darts, and you just got to figure out where they going. And he put Diddy on, and he was like, all right, Diddy wants to rap. We're gonna make him one of the biggest stars in the world too, and I'm gonna produce him now. And it was like this stuff is all happening within 5 years of like 1992, from like partying bullshit and keeping it hot, in the lyricist lounge like circuit and underground stuff, and then all his remix verses, his features, like getting on the song. Do a song with Big, he'll fucking kill you. Like there's a little topic I've seen going around now with the Flavor in Your Ear remix, and people like are discovering, like they're going back through everyone's verses, and it's like people are trying to figure out what the hell LL Cool J is rapping about. It was quite funny, but Big, of course, sets that off incredibly. You think about him rapping with Lil Kim, like the different songs he would do with her. I think he was just so, he's the best. He is the best still to me. he's number one. Like, obviously, I think Jay-Z is like greater at this point. Like, who's the greatest rapper of all time? I think it's Jay-Z, but who's the best rapper of all time? Like, it's for me, it's still Big. Like, and I feel like Big would have transitioned. Like, if he holds on a couple more years, right? Like, you telling me like he ain't gonna know what to do with a Manny Fresh beat? I feel like Big would figure it out. If you tell me like the Doors get knocked down essentially like Pimp C was asking for, and if he gets some Dr. Dre beats, you think Big don't know what to do with them? I think he does. I think Big knows what to do with a Timberland beat. I think Big knows what to do with the Neptunes. I think Big knows what to do with Kanye West. Like, it just Blaze. Like, you think about all these people that would have like essentially everything that Jay-Z got, and it could have been Big's.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I never really thought of it that way in like the alternate universe type of sense of like what would happen if if he was around still. Like, I think just how strong his collections of music were, that like it was just a no brainer. That's what the trajectory would have been. But how he would have done it and who he would have worked with, I never thought about that. But yeah, like it. I've always the one thing I've always thought about is like, all right, if Biggie's still around, like that completely changes Jay-Z's career. He's never the top guy in rap ever. Um, Diddy never like becomes like for like a year or two like the biggest star in rap either.
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of weird because like obviously those are like legends, first ballot rap Hall of famers, all that kind of thing, and you think of like how like those two without him there had a chance to actually like reach for those kind of heights in New York, that otherwise would not have been available to them if they had been around. Like, it's almost like when people talk, if it was actually legitimate, like people talk about how like Hakeem won his two titles in '94, '95, but actually like like Hakeem would have whooped Jordan's ass at one point in time in one of them series if Jordan had stayed around because of how the run of making all those finals runs, whatever else. But anyway, like it would have been one of those where you're like, yeah, that person doesn't have, maybe they just don't have that same level of impact. They're still big stars, whatever else, but it doesn't happen the same way. And I also think of like some relationships they end up getting screwed over or whatever else because like Diddy was like fucked over so many people too.
Mm-hmm.
Like what would have been the fallout with his reputation if like we found out that like whatever money that Biggie made, like he should have made way more or whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever the political fallout would have been for like where does he go if he breaks up with Diddy, leaves Bad Boy, goes somewhere
I'm
else.
glad you mentioned that because Jermaine Dupri like was hard after Big at one point. Like and Big was doing songs with talking about I'm so like all that stuff. Like he was hard after
him,
Big.
Now tell him about the part when he comes to Jermaine Dupri in New York and Diddy.
That would have been a struggle, but I think
also
another woman
Atlanta,
doing
that's the East Coast,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
the East Coast.
Yeah, same thing. I would have loved to hear Big and Outkast work together. Like Big had respect for like a lot of people. Like I remember seeing him turned up to the '69 boys like in the Source Awards. He was just sitting there clowning like the eye for talent that Big had. Like Big put Cam on. Like he was originally gonna sign Cam. Obviously put Lil Kim on. Like he legitimized the locks. Like he he didn't put Jay on, but like he wrapped his arm around Jay essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And look at all those acts. Like this guy was so ahead of his time. Died at 24. Like it makes no sense because he cast like and he's gonna remain 24 years old forever, right? But he cast like this long shadow that he was a man way beyond his years. It seemed like. And obviously, there's a lot of stuff that happened with him, in his personal life, like stuff with Faith Evans, and there may have, we heard a lot of stories and stuff like that, seen stuff in the movies. We heard Faith Evans singing her heart out about it, and there's a lot that goes into discussing Big, and I think I feel like if he was someone that was abusive towards women. That is obviously awful, and I don't want to shy away from mentioning that. Um, and I don't really know how to transition out of that, but I feel like it's just something we have to acknowledge.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't, and the stories with Kim and stuff like that as well. Charlie Baltimore, if y'all notice, Big Heat Bad Ones, but um, yeah, but just strictly on the music tip, uh, Frank White, like they're Brooklyn, shout out to Brooklyn Ike. I'm sure he can give us some stories. Being a young guy back then, what it was like in BK. But yeah, man, like no one will ever top Big. Like, and I don't, and I say that from a place of like, I don't even know if I want someone to be better than Big.